Hi guys, hope everybody's well. Bit of a new thing, so starting the new year, try to start uploading videos a little bit more often. Just been doing some work on the Mini that I run. So I used to run a Kamtec hot hatch, which I race at Force Raceway, and that served me really well and was a very good grounding into the sport, because I got into this about 18 months ago now. Not very good, but I enjoy it, so that's all that matters. And that served me well as a good grounding. Always been intrigued into running a Mini. So at the halfway through last year, I picked myself up a Mardave Mini. This has got some additional bits and bobs on now, and ran it a couple of times and was really pleased with it, except for the rear pod. Now, some of this will go down to the fact I guess it's just the design with the car and also my poor driving. So I would crash, not necessarily all the time, but certainly once or twice during the course of a qualifying or a race. And the rear pod is just attached on a small, I don't know if you can see that, some sort of small ball joint. It just clips on. And that's popped off a couple of times, and it cost me a couple of... When I say close finishes or good results for me, I'm talking maybe doing quite well in the C's every now and again, get up to the B's. I'm not an A category driver, certainly not at club level, not by any stretch of the imagination. But for me, it was frustrating, because I thought I was doing well, and I don't mind crashing and it being my fault. But then if a mechanical forces me out, then I got a bit frustrated. So taking some advice from some of the lads that race at Force, I bought a Kamtec Mini and was real pleased with it, dead happy. And the difference is the rear pod can never really pop off due to the fact it's bolted on. But that therein then creates its own set of issues, because if you don't have this just perfectly tightened to a degree, with just enough play so you can lift it up just a little bit, or it a bit sloppy, or other people would then give you advice, well, no, it needs to be tightened a bit more, or it needs to be looser, or it needs to be slacker. I just got frustrated with the fact that the car never seemed to have a consistent handling, even though I was doing quite well. When I say again quite well, I was doing probably just as well I was doing with the Mardave, and I was just trying to eliminate something that was a problem. And by trying to eliminate something that was a problem, I feel as though I created myself a problem. So off that goes. For this season, for 2023, I'm going to go back to my Mardave. And literally the reason being is, if it pops off because I've crashed, well, then I shouldn't have bloody crashed. It's my own fault and poor driving. But I've eliminated now something that's adjustable. Maybe you can shim it underneath and things like that, but it's way above my, not pay grade, but capabilities of being bothered to do that. So my intention is, I've eliminated something that might go wrong. So now really the only tweaks you can do is probably the springs at the front, the springs at the back, organising things like droop, which I got to be honest, I'm not really sure what it does. Then shims for ride height and things like that. So from that point of view, I feel as though I've eliminated some of the mechanical problems, and the less things that I can adjust, and then just concentrate on how I'm driving the car and just concentrate on improving my driving, all things being equal. So that is the plan for the 2023 season. A couple of bits I want to change with this. I want a double rear pod holder. So Mardave do, instead of a single bolt going through, they do a double one that looks like that, but unfortunately the Kamtec one doesn't fit it. Now there's so many parts that are crossover between Kamtec and Mardave, so but that unfortunately isn't one of them. The other thing I've got is I found this rear pod. Now this isn't the rear pod that comes as stock with it. This is your sort of stock rear pod, and I think this one gives me some additional adjustments. So there's actually in this pod, there's no holes for droop screws. That keeps the centre pin in place, whereas with this one there is some actual droop screws, and if you turn it over, the pod is a little bit longer. So this standard Mardave pod comes into that hole, whereas this one goes into the first hole there. So I think the pod is a tiny bit longer. So because you pick up bits and bobs of these cars along the way, I thought I'll try that. And also I've found some bling carbon battery holders. Not that it will make any difference to me, but it's good to have a little bit of bling. Now the only little tweaks I need to do before tonight's race is I need to alter my toe in or toe out on the front wheels, and I think I'm just going to run them as straight as I can and see where that lies, mate, as opposed to having any toe out or toe in. Because my understanding is if you have toe out, so the wheels pointing out, that slows the steering down. If you have toe in on the wheels, it speeds up the steering. Well, I think these cars are twitchy enough as it is, so if anything I'd run a bit of toe out, I think. But to start with, I think we'll just have it in a neutral straight line position and see how the night goes. So that's that. And I'm still rocking my green shell, but I've put a few holes in it now because I'm just no expert when it comes to any of this. But you don't need to be an expert to enjoy yourself. And that's all that matters. Right, guys, I shall leave you be, and thanks for watching.